I'd like to call the meeting to order and stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Gulladye?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett? Yes.
The approval of the special meeting minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I need to abstain, but we.
We can because Tim can vote.
Oh, right, okay. Mr. Gulladye?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett? Abstain.
Okay. No accommodations or communications?
None at this time.
Reports? Mike?
I don't have anything at this time,
Okay.
thank you.
No public participation. So moving on to board items for discussion. Nothing there?
Nothing there?
All right, we'll keep moving.
Are we doing that?
Yeah.
This is easy.
I like how he runs the meeting. I wish I could say we're done, but we're not.
We're not, yeah.
All right. So,
Additions and deletions?
yeah, so I do have a number of additions and deletions. So just so you're aware, we've had quite a last day and a half, and internet has been down. Apparently 16 circuits were cut somewhere in New Albany, fiber, and they're still working on it. I know Mike and the group, Chip, they've been doing a great job of trying to navigate things, but we've been working from our phones, and it's been interesting. So you would have normally got these, but we have to put them up this way. So they've been embedded into this particular document. Salary change notices, there's a number of them there. We've rescinded a couple of supplemental contracts. We have some substitute teacher contracts, pupil activity contracts. We have a couple retirements, and we've added a food service contract agreement to the board agenda tonight. And those are all embedded inside this document and the document you have that's hard copy, but not on your shared document. So anyway, that's information for you there.
Moving on to superintendent's report.
Well, I do have a superintendent's report. There's been a lot going on, so I'm going to spend just a few minutes, if that's okay, through a PowerPoint, because I was able to make that work. So I have a food service update, some student fees, and then the all-interesting cell phone conversation that I thought I would share with you, kind of where we're at with that, and again, we're going to provide a lot of that information to everybody else as well. So I'll shift gears and I'll head to here. First, in a food service update, we're really excited to share with you, and I know a couple board members had an opportunity to be a part of this process, as well as Mike from our OPSI union and others. We've been in the process of interviewing food service management companies. And we had 5 management companies that shared an interest in working with Mount Vernon City Schools. And we got prospectuses from all of those. We narrowed that prospectus, so those proposals down to 2 who we brought back. Our nutrition group and Aramark were the 2 that we brought back. And they were kind enough to come and give us an hour-and-a-half presentation. And I know some of you got a chance to be a part of that. And it was really just really neat conversation. And we're excited to say that we want to partner with Aramark. And Dave Newman's here from Aramark, and Dave decided to come, and Dave brought a team with him, and I think what really kind of set them apart in this whole process was, quite frankly, you knew you were dealing with a team, right? They had a chef there who did, by the way, cook up some amazing tacos. But they just had kind of a conglomeration of all the folks that are involved in the program. And we're excited to see what is going to come with our work with Aramark. They currently work with many of our larger districts, Hilliard and Dublin and so on and so forth. So I know they're going to be ready to ramp up and kind of bring things on board. And so that's going to be exciting. We've sent some communication out to our food service staff, letting them know that that was the direction we were going. I do want to say a special thank you to the nutrition group. You know, we found ourselves, you know, in a situation where we needed a director at the last minute last year, and they stepped up and they really helped out. And I know they wanted the contract, and we went through our due diligence and did our work, and it just didn't work out that way at the end. But I do appreciate all that they did to keep us afloat this past year. And now we're hoping to do better than stay afloat. We're hoping to ride the waves, and Dave's going to kind of take us through that. So we're excited to approve that contract tonight, so Dave can take it back to his crew and give them the thumbs up, and off we go. So thank you, Dave, for your work there.
Thank you.
Along with the food service update, this is kind of an exciting one. New for 2024-25. Breakfast and lunch for all Mount Vernon City School students will be free. And so all of our students will get to have the opportunity to have breakfast and lunch, more of that type A, not all of the a la carte stuff, but to have a good nutritious lunch free. We became eligible for what's called a community eligibility provision grant. We applied for it, went through that whole process, and we think it's just the right time to do that. And we think it's going to be a great benefit to our families. That they don't have to worry about, you know, sending funds relative to food service. So hopefully our community is going to be excited about that and appreciate that as we go. All right. Along with that, you know, you might as well just share good news as we go here in the month of July. This year, we're going to waive our academic fees for the 24-25 school year. Again, that's waiving our academic fees. We have all kinds of other fees like athletic participation, some of those things. We're not waiving all of those, but when we took a look at our academic fees, and primarily you have a couple core ones at the middle school and the elementary school, but the high school you can tend to have a fee for every class. And we really took a good look at that and our collection upon that, and really felt like, you know, due to the benefits of some extra funding through a variety of sources, that we felt we could waive those this year. And I know Judy spent a great deal of time on that and believes really strongly in being able to do that. And so we're excited to kind of announce that for this year. Okay, so there you go. Any questions on those first couple items, Aramark or school lunches or even student fees?
Just that all the handbooks will have to be revised.
So when we do approve the handbooks, I will mention that when we get there.
Okay.
But I couldn't just do it without knowing where we were at with that. So we will.
I saw that was all highlighted in yellow, so I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we're going to, when we approve the handbooks, we'll make sure those are inserted there. The nice part about our handbooks anymore is they're all electronically generated. There was a day and time where we had to send them out and have them printed, and boy, they had to be done by, you know, May 1st, and obviously changes didn't quite fit that. So we'll make sure that all of the student handbooks reflect those two changes for next year. All right. Well,
Bill, I didn't know if Dave had anything he wanted to say to the group now or not.
Just thank you for the opportunity. We're really looking forward to it. So we're excited to hit the ground running the 13th, yep, for the convocation, and then the following week for school, right?
yeah, Aramark has agreed to serve our breakfast on August 13th for our opening convocation. So everybody will get a firsthand kind of taste. So put them spices in there.
No pressure.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking forward to it.
Good.
All right, good, thanks. We wanted to talk a little bit about the cell phone policy and the cell phone thought exchange that we had most recently, and was able to send the board some basic information, but I kind of wanted to walk you through things that we've kind of put together and conversations we've continued to have, And at the end, I'm gonna actually make a cell phone kind of a recommendation for your consideration. But I thought I would lead you to where I think that part probably has come from through our conversations. And quite frankly, when we did a cell phone thought exchange, we wanted to hear from our constituents, and that was our staff, and that was our our parents, and that was our students and community. So taking a look at it, here was the exchange overview. We had over 1,275 people participate in the cell phone thought exchange from those various subgroups. That's amazing. And what was part of that was the thought exchange had 10 survey questions, and then they had an open-ended thought. That open-ended thought are the thoughts that were collected. So not only did 1,275 people go in and take the 10-question survey, but of that group, there were over 1,111 thoughts that were put in there and then rated and starred and so on and so forth. So that was exciting. Variety of perspectives. Again, with the different stakeholder groups, you had opinions that were all over the board. And we understood that that was going to be the case. But still, we value those opinions. We know we won't make everybody happy in decisions that we make, but it isn't that we're not listening, right? So that was really the exchange overview there. Just to give you a little bit of demographics here, student participation, we had 269 students participate, and so you wonder, how did we get those students to participate? Well, we sent them an invitation through their school email. Obviously, kids over the summer probably aren't getting on and checking their email, but they got one nonetheless, and 269 students participated. They shared 170 thoughts. And when you look at the demographics there, we really focus more on the middle school and the high school relative to sending out the emails. 230 high school students participated, 35 middle school, so about 86% of the survey among the students were high school students. Interestingly enough, in the program, I can take all of the demographics, all of the students, and I can pull out and take all of their survey questions and all of their thoughts, and I can let AI go ahead and kind of disaggregate it and give me some synopsises. And this is kind of what it said. So this is what the students said, or the AI summarized. The responses indicate a general consensus that students should be allowed to have their cell phones during the school day. The main reasons cited included the need for emergency communication, the ability to reach parents or guardians in case of health issues, and the convenience for students who have off-campus commitments. Some respondents suggested that cell phone use should be permitted during breaks in study halls or with teacher permission. A few respondents also pointed out that responsible students should not be penalized for others' misuse, that if cell phone use becomes a reoccurring problem, only then should students be reprimanded. And I didn't think that it would be a whole lot different than what that kind of summarized, and you'll kind of see that in some of the information that they have. And again, we're going to make all of this information public for people to look at. Their top 4 thoughts, when they got to go ahead and write in thoughts, I know that's hard to see. You do have a copy in front of you, but as a high school student, I benefit from having my cell phone for quick communication with my parents and siblings. Another one, as a student, there are teachers that are strict about phones. These teachers make us be sneaky, okay? The policy should be that students can have phones on them. I think they should all be allowed to have their cell phones with them at all times for safety reasons, and I think allowing students to be on their cell phones during breaks and lunch would be highly reasonable. So those just happen to be their top thoughts. The survey questions are obviously part of what we shared there. As we go to the parents, this was a huge subgroup. So 707 parents participated in the exchange. They shared 659 thoughts. Even drilling it down a little bit further, they were parents of who, right? And so 47% or 378 parents identified as having high school students. 41% or 288 parents identified themselves as middle school students. This next one surprised me a little bit. 54% or 378 parents identified as elementary students. And so it was kind of neat to see that kind of a breakout there. And so, as you can imagine, I can now pull all that data out. I can look at certain subgroups and different things like that. The AI part of this was a little bit different than the students, but somewhere kind of in the middle. The responses indicated a general consensus that cell phones in classrooms lead to distractions, disciplinary issues, and hinder social development. Many respondents suggest that cell phones should be restricted during school hours, with the exceptions for emergencies or after-school communication. Concerns were raised about cyberbullying, unauthorized recording, and negative impact on mental health. Some respondents acknowledged the potential benefits of cell phones as educational tools and tracking devices, but emphasizes the need for proper usage and monitoring. Overall, the responses advocate for a comprehensive cell phone policy to ensure conducive learning environment. And so you kind of saw that general theme weaved out through all of that. I was able to go in and theme some parent perspectives. So in other words, you could go in and it starts to theme them in categories. And I've listed those there for you, so I won't read those, but distracted learning came up a lot. Cyberbullying came up a lot. Mental health impacts, inappropriate contact, and the addiction concerns just relative to face-to-face versus social kind of interaction. The other theme part that was a big one in there was really just communication. A lot of parents still want the ability to communicate with their children throughout the day or make sure they can in the case of an emergency. Staff participation was obviously it was a little less because there aren't quite as many staff members. We had 190 staff participate. They shared 167 thoughts. The staff demographics kind of fell along these lines. 46% or 86 of them were high school staff members. 30% or 56 were staff members at the middle school. And then of the elementary staff, there were 53 or 28%. And we did have another category for this group, which was, gets into your cooks, your custodians, your bus drivers. So we had 14% that shared in this group as well. The AI summary was quite a bit different in this subgroup. The responses overwhelmingly suggest that cell phones are a significant distraction in the classroom, negatively impacting students' learning and attention span. Many respondents believe that cell phones should not be allowed during school hours, particularly in the middle and elementary schools. They argue that students should focus on learning without such distractions. Concerns were also raised about the impact of cell phones on students' mental health, with some suggesting that reducing technology use could be beneficial. There were also worries about the rise in cyberbullying, the misuse of phone for non-educational purposes. Some respondents noted that students already have access to district-provided Chromebooks for educational purposes, making cell phones unnecessary. So that was kind of the overall summary of the staff. And it is kind of interesting when you even go down further and break it down by, okay, what are really the elementary staff members saying? And there was a really overwhelming, and really it was with parents as well, overwhelming at the elementary level that they really shouldn't have them during school hours. Whoops. Okay, I didn't touch it. It went crazy on me. Some theme things by the staff. Again, words that came up a lot: disruptive behavior, decreased attention, impaired learning, classroom management challenges, and equitable access concerns. So those are some larger perspectives that kind of came up through those conversations, and you can look at those at a later time. I did want to review some of the survey questions because while maybe the first 3 or 4 were more demographics that allowed me to really drill down, there were some interesting questions that I thought you'd be interested in knowing what the general consensus was. This is really a question that was posed to the students in the survey. Students who bring a cell phone to school every day. Now the question was asked differently because you had a choice of every day, often, rarely, never, right? Well, that wasn't the case with students. So in the high school, 94% of students bring a cell phone to school every day. And at the middle school, 86% of middle school students bring a cell phone every day. There were not many elementary students who took participation in the survey, so there was no data relative to that. But all that to say, students are bringing cell phones to school every day. And unfortunately, I hear from parents from time to time who will say, as their students are transitioning from elementary to middle school, 5th grade to 6th grade, it feels like this rite of passage. I gotta get my son or daughter a cell phone now. It just, they kind of fall into that kind of next level piece there. This was another question that was asked. Do cell phones negatively impact teaching and learning? Now, you had some choices here too, but I chose one. And so 10% of all the students said, no, it doesn't impact teaching and learning at all. On the other hand, 80% of teachers said it negatively impacts teaching and learning. And then the parents, quite frankly, 59, almost 60% say they believe it impacts teaching and learning. And so I thought that was an interesting kind of a pullback there. Here are the top 3 reasons students use cell phones at school among the 3 groups. Students, and this goes by number 1, number 2, number 3. I just didn't mark them that way. Students say their top reason is communication with family. Number 2, educational purposes. And number 3, emergencies. That's what they had indicated in their part of the survey. Parents, on the other hand, they also had communication with family up there high. That was their number 1. Number 2 were emergencies, and number 3 was social media. And then among the staff's top reasons students use cell phones, social media, entertainment, and then communication with family. So the teachers are seeing what they do on their phones or believing that they see what they're doing on their phones. Parents, I think, certainly want it to be this, but I'll recognize that probably some social media is going on. Students will tell us it's communication they're using for educational purposes. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting comparison there.
There's 3 summaries are all across the board. The 3 summaries are across the board.
Yep, across the board. Top 3 concerns regarding cell phone use in school. That was another question. The number 1 response by students, no concerns. The number 2 was distraction from learning, and they actually put number 3 as cheating. However, parents, their top 3 concerns were distraction from learning, cyberbullying, and mental health. Teachers or staff, on the other hand, it was distraction from learning, and they flipped mental health and cyberbullying. I think teachers and staff members just see this constant need to be on the phone being a greater mental health issue than perhaps being a cyberbullying. But I think they kind of go hand in hand. Because if cyberbullying is happening, it's going to be a drain on your mental health.
Right.
And I think this was the last one I had here. If cell phone use is allowed, this was a question, when do you think it would be appropriate? And so here are the top 3. The students said, number 1, during breaks and lunch. Number 2, class with teacher permission. And number 3, before and after school. Now realize I only gave them 6 choices, so I mean there were some others in there, but not a substantial amount different. Why did parents believe? When did parents believe it would be appropriate? Before and after school was their number 1. During breaks and lunch, and class with teacher permission. When did the staff think it would be appropriate to have it? Before and after school, never during school, or number 3, during breaks and lunch. So it all kind of falls along those kind of unique lines as you take a look at that. I'm not going to read these, but I thought the board might be interested in this, and we'll post this on our website for people to see it. But you remember when I had those theme pieces, so distraction, what it did is it pulled out the top starred results, top 3 for distraction, top 3 for social media. And again, when I say top, that means other people looked at it and rated that really high. So you've got distraction, you've got social media, you've got mental health, you've got phone policy, you've got education, you've got phone access, you've got phones away, and then cell phones. And so I think it falls along the lines that I think you are getting a picture for, but I thought it was great information to share with you as you go there. So, with that being said, I had an opportunity to share with the board some of that information a week or so ago. Some of you shared with me that, hey, it might be good to have some further conversations, realizing that the middle school and the high school would probably be the center of having to enforce or to promote these policies. Had a great, about a 2-hour meeting with Darren Prince, middle school principal, and Corey Coughlin, who came tonight. Darren was going to come tonight. He kind of came down with something and unfortunately couldn't be with us. But I thought that was wise, because I can sit there in my position, or we can sit in our positions.
Right.
We can have thoughts and we can, but you know what? They have to live with it every day. And so we sat down with both of them just to see what they thought might be, based upon all the information. We got a chance to review that and more information, kind of began to formulate a policy for your consideration. Now, what we also have to understand is any policy that we share here, what it might look like, it always has the ability to be revised and changed. But I think it makes common sense. It's not too far to one extreme or too far to the other, but I think it meets some sweet spots in there, and we're going to do our best to take care of it. So here's the recommendation. I do have for you, board, a singular document you can look at some point in time. That has it all, what I'm going to share in a PowerPoint. I mean, I also have it in the PowerPoint, but this is a nicer document to look at. So really the policy reads, and what I did was I took the Ohio Department of Education's model policy with all of the categories and tried to apply it to our situation, right? And so you're seeing kind of a basic introduction. The Board of Education of Mount Vernon has determined that cell phone use during school hours should be limited to support school environments in which students can fully engage with their classmates, teachers, and instruction. The policy is to strengthen Mount Vernon City Schools, focus on learning in alignment with our mission to ignite students' passions for learning, cultivating a strong foundation of knowledge and a sense of community within our schools. Listed some research there. I won't read that to you. But some of that research is research we put together, and some of it's stuff that has been shared, from the Ohio Department of Education. The second section is called applicability, and so that's who is this going to apply to. We decided to break it down into 3 groups. We weren't going to make it a one-size-fits-all, and I'm not saying it's wrong to make a one-size-fits-all. We could have had one policy that said it's eliminated for everybody or it's free for everybody, but we felt like what we heard in the exchange was clear at different levels, okay? So at the elementary level, grades K-5, the policy is student cell phones are prohibited from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. during the school day. That is their school day, okay? The rationale is that elementary students are encouraged to focus on learning and social interactions without the distraction of cell phones. Really, that's currently the operation that's been going on at the elementary for some time. Obviously, a policy kind of codifies it. We do have some students at the elementary level who have smart watches. Again, we're not out to ban smart watches, but we are going to make sure that, we shouldn't be getting calls on our smart watch. Those kind of things need to go through office, and I'll share a little bit of what that looks like. The middle school, grades 6 through 8, policy is just a little bit different. Students are prohibited from using cell phones during class periods, flex period, and lunch. They may check their phones during the 3-minute transition times between periods for parent communication. Now, this is something they've been doing for some time. So at the middle school, they've never really been allowed to have their phones out the past couple of years. They're to put them in their locker or they're to put them in their book bag, but they have allowed for this 3-minute transition to check. All right, so I'll play, for instance, my granddaughter. My daughter says, hey, I can't get you right after school, I can get you at 2 o'clock, 2:30, whatever. Sends that quick text. If she wants to go between class and quickly check, oh, I got notification from mom, boom, then they're done. There's not any time during that 3-minute transition to get into real social media time or texting or all of those things, but allowing for that quick check, because what we heard was from both students and parents, the ability just to have that quick communication was important. So we left that piece in there. But again, that's it. It's only during those transition times. The rationale was middle school students are given limited opportunities to use their phones to contact parents while minimizing distractions during instructional time. At the high school level, we allow just a little bit more flexibility. However, students are still prohibited from using cell phones during class periods, their hive, and study hall. Not allowed to use them in study hall, all right? They may check their phones during their 4-minute transitions. They got longer legs, but it must take them longer to get between classes. So they get a 4-minute transition. So they can check it there, and we are leaving it open during the lunchtime, all right? And believe that kind of compromise, working together, we want to give them the opportunity to prove that they can do it and do it in a correct manner. But what I will say is, we've been very clear, and we will be very clear, and I know that Corey will be very clear, while we're providing them a little more flexibility with transition time and lunch, if we begin to have problems at those times, abuses lead to restrictions, and that can go away pretty quick, right? So all 3 policies are very consistent in that during instructional class time, no cell phones, right? And we're even considering study hall, which is only at the high school. There's no study hall at the middle school. We consider that instructional time. We don't want students to be on their phones during study hall on the social media sites and going away at it. We didn't want that. Make it instructional time. There is one piece I'll add here at the very end that will address a study hall situation, and I'll share that with you in a second. So as you go down, I really wanted to make sure that this policy hit emergency communication because we heard it over and over and over again. You know, unfortunately, we live in a day and age where we just have these concerns about emergency situations, and I get it. So parents who believe they need constant contact with their children in cases of emergency can rest assured that the district has protocols and procedures for emergency communications. In specific emergency situations, the district can quickly notify students if parents call the office. Students can, in turn, use the office phone at any time to contact parents in the case of an emergency at school. Here's the important piece that we felt needed to be in here. Let's define an emergency, because a lot of people have a different view on an emergency, right? So we've defined it this way. An emergency in a school setting is any situation where a student's immediate safety, health, or well-being is at risk and requires urgent communication or action. This includes sudden illness or injuries requiring immediate medical attention, situations involving threats to physical safety of students, and critical family emergencies like serious illness, injury, or perhaps death in a family. Those are kind of those areas we're feeling are those areas to define as emergency. It's not to pick up milk after school. It's not those are not emergencies. Now, could they send a quick text and the child check it between periods and see it? Perhaps, but we wanted to do that. So in such emergencies, parents should contact the school office, which will promptly relay the information to the student. Students are also allowed to use the office phone in the other way, okay? Section 4 is cell phone storage. So where are students gonna keep their cell phones? Some districts are providing like special lockers. Some are wanting them as, we don't want to be in the business of maintaining and controlling cell phones. Those are expensive devices. We don't want to get into that challenge of taking them from them and putting them somewhere safe and something happens. So we've decided to do something a little different. Students can keep their cell phones in a secure place, such as their locker or closed backpack or a secured cell phone pouch provided by the district at all times when cell phone use is prohibited. So it is to be away, and all those times it's prohibited, which is all class time, and of course those other areas by student. The secured cell phone pouch is the property of Mount Vernon City School District. Students will be held responsible for any lost, stolen, or damaged pouches. I'm going to share that with you in a second because it's really kind of unique. It's something you won't find a lot of other people doing at this point, but we wanted to kind of be out there a little bit. Who would have thought, right?
So did you bring one to show us?
No, but they're not here yet. We haven't received them. So Section 5 is a progressive discipline policy for the violations. So if you're going to have this, you've got to have some sort of policy part that if they violate the policy, what happens? So, first offense, the action, student receives a first warning. The parents are contacted on the first offense. All right, the procedure is then the student reports to the office with their phone, this is first offense now, and obtains a secure cell phone pouch. The phone must stay in the pouch until the end of the school day. At the end of the day, the student can report back to the office to have the pouch removed and get their cell phone back. Here's the difference there. They keep their cell phone. I've seen so many instances, and Corey will admit to this too, when we've had you're not taking my phone. No, that's my phone. You know, we get into this, we don't need to get into that. We can simply say, you know what, you had your first offense. Put it in this pouch. We'll secure it, have it back, it's yours. To get it out of there, you gotta come back to the office and we'll show you how that works. Second offense, the student receives a lunch detention. The family is also contacted. Same procedure again. The student reports to the office with their phone, obtains a secure cell phone pouch. The phone must stay in the pouch until the end of the school day. At the end of the day, they can report to the office and have it removed. All right. If we start to go down third offenses, then students lose the privilege of having a cell phone during school. All right, so now they don't get to have it during the day. We still realize, though, that some need to bring it for before and after school events. All right. We do contact the family again, but the procedure now is the phone must either stay at home or it must be checked in at the office at the beginning of the day, and they get a cell phone pouch. Put in a cell phone pouch for the remainder of the day. Now, if they brought it and they kept it in their locker and never got it out, then that would be okay too. But they lose the privilege of having it during lunch or the transition periods. And then finally, any further violations beyond the third would result in increased disciplinary action, including up to suspension and even referral. And then finally, section 6, the policy review and modifications. The cell phone policy will be reviewed regularly and to ensure they continue to meet the needs of student, staff, parents, and the educational environment. The district reserves the right to modify these policies as needed based on new research, feedback, and changing circumstances. This policy aims to create a focused learning environment while addressing the communication needs of parents and students. So, all that to be said, this is what's called a cell phone pouch. All right, what you're seeing there is a vinyl, it's a pouch, and the cell phone slides down in it, and it's sitting on top of the device that unlocks it. So if you've ever gone to a store and you get a pair of clothes and it has that little thing on there, they put it on the magnet, pull it off, and off you go. This works the same way. So there's the case. As you enter the venue, your phone will be placed in the case. Once inside the case, it'll lock. Push it shut, it locks. And then you can't unlock it until you come back and use one of their magnetic unlockers. So you set it on there, it opens up. Here's your phone back. Have a good afternoon. We have, however, and Corey did some great research on this. You can probably, YouTube a lot of things. People try to find ways around everything. The only way really around it is to destroy it or to try to manipulate it in such a way that you're breaking it. And that's where you saw in the policy that if we get these back and they've been manipulated or changed or broken, they'll be held kind of responsible for that situation. Okay? And then last but not least in this part, one of the concerns that came to us, and I actually got a couple personal emails on this, and I appreciate it. Some of our brightest and best students said, Mr. Cedar, during study hall, I like to just listen to music as I'm doing my work. And they always use their cell phones for that. Well, we've already said that we're not going to allow them to use cell phones during study hall because we know where that can lead. But not to let that go and just to deny that opportunity. I talked with Tech, and Tech is, we believe we have the ability to open up a few of our streaming services that are on the Chromebook. So if you are a Spotify user, you can put your headphones in and you can listen to your Spotify music through the Chromebook. We have the ability to regulate and monitor it, but what it does is we find ourselves being able to listen to their concerns and meet a concern differently than just allowing the phone there. So, all that being said, any thoughts or discussions?
I have a question. Thank you, this is great. The question I have is procedural. How do teachers communicate that a student has received a warning? So if they're in one class and they receive the warning, so how is that communicated so that if there's a second offense, then
Who knows that?
Good question. So remember what the first warning is. It is a warning, but you do have to go down to the office to get the cell phone pouch.
okay,
And so that's recorded in our PBIS app.
okay,
And so we can always keep track of that. So it's not like teacher A needs to know what teacher B did.
okay,
It
gotcha.
will be recorded somewhere on the PBIS that if they wanted to look it up, they might go, yeah, I'm sending you down. It looks like your second time. But really, it's when they go down and they get issued the cell phone pouch, the
Okay.
recording will take place there.
Okay,
About the pouch, does it prevent, let's say they leave it on when they put it in the pouch. Let's say they leave their phone on, put it in the pouch, seal it up. Will it, how does it deal with Bluetooth and earbuds?
It's a great question, and until I get one in my hands, I'm not sure that I know.
You can actually still use it
So
in
would
that
you,
way.
yeah, so
That's right. It'd have to be turned.
obviously you couldn't do anything like
No.
this with it. Could they listen to music or something? I don't know.
Anyway, that's just.
Corey will be right on. Oh.
I can help you.
Okay.
They actually block signal. So
That's what I wondered.
they block Bluetooth, they internet and
Yeah.
cellular
Because
signal.
I know I've heard about some kids being able to use their earbuds in class and teachers don't even know they have them in, and if it's over here and
Yeah.
it's a workaround.
They shouldn't be able to, I mean,
Okay.
it could still be on, but it won't be able to.
Great, thanks Corey, appreciate that.
And the way this pouch came into play, they're now using it across concert venues across the US because people would go to these concerts and they'd video the concert or they would take pictures.
Gotta fix it.
And they were taking their music and stealing it, using it, and doing all kinds of things. So there's a lot of concerts you go in, you can't walk through the gate until and they lock it.
There's a couple things about this I really like. One is that it's not one solution fits all at the various levels of our schools. I like the variety of looking at what the needs, what's needed in an elementary building may not be the same as what's needed in a high school building. I like that. I also really like the fact Section 6 says that this policy will be continued to be analyzed, that we're not trying to set this in stone today and being done with it. This is all, it feels like it's all come at us fairly quickly. But I also really appreciated the fact of having conversations with our building leaders who have been there, lived it, seen it, and been able to tweak it even along the way, even to get it to where we have it today. So, and I see further tweaking going on here as well. So I like that variety of input and solutions at the various levels we have, so thank you for that.
I just had a question regarding, I think you said elementary policy was pretty much what represents what we already do, and so does the middle school. What about the high school?
Could you address, so the policy that we are looking to utilize here, how much different is it than what it was, let's say, at the end of last school year?
So we actually looked at it while we were meeting. We've kind of had the same policy since about 2017. And that was each teacher kind of controlled their own room. So each teacher was given either a red, they had two posters. It was a red cell phone or a green cell phone. If they had the red cell phone up, that meant students knew they were not allowed to have a phone out during class. If they had the green up, then students would be allowed. I'd say across study halls, it kind of varied depending on the teacher what they allowed. But we gave each staff member the right to kind of control their own space.
So that will be changed.
Yes, now it'll be red across the board. So the thought is once they enter the classroom after that, from that transition, once they enter the classroom space, phones need to be outside.
So really the concern will probably be with the high school students.
With the students.
It could be. I would say that, and Corey did his own little survey before I did mine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the sentiment started to grow among even the high school staff that while we did it this way for a while, leaving it choice with teachers, there was almost a feeling like, well, we'd rather just be consistent because
Well, it makes the
these
teacher
two
the bad
teachers
guy.
said yes, these two teachers said no, you got good teachers and,
You're being unfair.
yeah. And so this would really kind of eliminate that. They all felt very much that they had become a distraction in the class. And, for those who say they use it for educational purposes, which of course was one of their number one or two, that was before Chromebooks. If they need to be there, the Chromebook can navigate all of those functions that they really need to navigate. And quite frankly, we'd even like to see less screen time, even with Chromebooks, as time goes on.
Agreed.
Any other questions or thoughts?
Oh, I just really appreciate all the work that went
That's a
into
lot of work,
this.
yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you to the
Thank
middle
you.
school and high school principals for their input, because they're the ones who are
Have to
leading.
implement it.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say that even in our conversations, we wrestled with things because there's parts of you that would just like to say, nope, they're done. And then there's other parts that are like, oh, I don't know. And it wasn't necessarily an easy decision for us either. So for those parents or staff members that wanted them completely eliminated, we didn't do that. For those that wanted no restrictions, or I always want to be able to text my children all day long, well, we didn't do that either. But we found this kind of area where we wanted to safeguard instruction, not during instructional time, but allowed a little bit of flexibility in there.
Yeah, I'd love to see like a mid-year review or something, feedback from our faculty and building leaders, just say, how's it going? It's a big policy that affects really the entire community, as you can see by the response rate. So to build in a review phase would probably be wise.
The only other thing I would probably kind of bring to light is we even have different county schools, schools in our area, and everybody has to do what they feel they have to do for their school.
Right.
Some are going to be a little bit more restrictive, some are going to be a little less restrictive. We're probably somewhere, wouldn't want to say in the middle, but we're all not going to be alike.
Right.
And that's just based upon your experiences and your community, the feedback that was given you. So if somebody says, well, they're doing this over here, okay, that's fine, but we're doing it this way and we'll modify if we need to modify.
Appreciate that.
Okay. On with the board agenda. So to Dr. Bennett's point, the handbooks, we needed to get those approved. Those few changes that we put in, so the cell phone policy, if that meets your thoughts at this point, as well as lunches and the VPs, we'll make sure that those are included. Okay. So item A for approval tonight are the following handbooks.
I would make that motion with the corrections understood.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Ward, call the roll, please.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Golodai?
Yes.
Moving on to curriculum instruction. Dr. Bennett, student liaison report.
Want me to do that, or, we can't show it.
I won't
but
show you
can-
anything, but
But I can kind of tell you.
I'll just do a quick summary.
Okay, well, instead of talking about the success, although if you had a chance to read about the dad's involvement, that was kind of good. And the student achievement in depth was also very good. But what I wanted to share is Kim Miller-Smith is the student achievement team leader. She directs that group, and she sends us some information regarding Future Forward Ohio, which is put out by the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce Development, ODO is the nickname, and it's called Future Forward Ohio, and there are 4 key priorities: literacy, accelerated learning, workforce readiness, and student wellness. And we, as a team, have been focusing on wellness for the last couple of meetings. And it's talking about supporting students and removing barriers. And one of the big barriers is attendance. And if you look on the website for the Ohio Department of Education, and it's education.ohio.gov, and it's the Ohio's attendance guide, and it has lots of really good information. And it talks about prevention and early intervention are key, and that we need systems and system shifts. We need to emphasize the impact of missed days on learning and student wellness, and we need to promote a climate of student attendance, and that we understand that engagement equals attendance. So kids can't be engaged in school and learn unless they're there, of course, and that we need to take positive problem-solving approach versus a legalistic and punitive approach, and that we should see students and their families as an important part of the solution instead of a problem, or that people are in need of rescue, and that we should use early warning systems before absences add up, which makes a lot of sense. Take data-driven approach led by building administrators, and we should engage every person in the school building and help them to get our kids there. And I mentioned to Mr. Cedar, it would be nice if the board has some attendance information regarding board level or school district level. And we did focus more on attendance. I think it's really important. I know it's has been one of our report card, items that we report. So, but that's for the whole district. If we break it down, maybe we can focus on it and improve our attendance, which is what I would like.
Very good.
Are there any questions? But if you check that website, I think and there's also on that same website, what's it called? Mental health, mind frame, and they have a digital series. And the one I looked at was on depression, and it was 9 minutes long, and it's mainly based for students to understand what depression is, takes the stigma out of it, and explains it from a personal and scientific point of view. Personal point of view in that kids will be able to understand what's happening to them. Scientific view is the science behind it. So those, if we could post those somewhere, that would be great. They're called Mind Frame Digital Series, and it's on the mental health. It's all on that website I shared with you.
Thank you. I know that I know attendance has been a focus for Corey and his staff, and they utilize those resources. Sometimes we're a little bit constrained just with the proceduralness that comes from ODU and the court systems. We've got timelines that we really can't. We could meet, but we can't do anything till after 60 days. I mean, there's some uniquenesses there that I think many of us wish could be tightened up a little bit. And I know that we're going to be having a conversation with some of our judges in town to see if we can.
Well, and they point out some important statistics, like if they miss the first 2 days in September, that's a red flag, that they may become chronic. And chronic absenteeism is considered as 10% of the time. And the 26% of students in certain years that miss 10% of the time. That's a lot.
Yeah. We'll try to bring something back to share with you for building levels. The only item in this section for board approval tonight is a gifted service plan. Yearly, we have to put together or revise our gifted service plan, and it's there for your review.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second. Thank you.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Golodai?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to fiscal services.
I printed out the part of the report that really matters, which means you've got 4 pages. The front is the cover, obviously, doesn't have that much. The end of the fiscal year, we ended up in all cash with $22,568,000. On the forecast, managing the forecast, we ended up, I'll get to that page next because we have another one. Let's skip back to the interest. We made $549,000 interest on our investments in 2020. And the year before was $363,000. So you can see we've got quite a bit invested and we're earning a pretty good rate on that.
Quite different than 2014, right?
Yeah, way back there.
I was gonna make a joke that Judy's rolling the dice really good, but no, we're not gonna do that.
A genius when it comes to investments. And then this page that I gave you, and I'm sorry we couldn't make this smaller, but there's not a smaller font. I actually was working on trying to make it bigger before the computers went down, so I did write at the bottom, as you can see. What we projected to end the year with was $13,560,000, and we actually ended with $14,493,000. Again, my genius. No, that's not what it is. Actually, it was that we used some of our COVID money to pay some of the general fund salaries because we had a little bit left to use and we wanted to make sure we used it properly, or used it smartly, I guess I should say. And then we did collect a little bit more in our taxes, and also the interest investments were helpful too. So you can see that at the very top here, we collected $237,000 more than we thought we would in revenue, and we spent $694,000 less than we thought we would. So that means that the forecast ended up $932,000 better than we thought. So now again, those salaries that we paid out of the ESSER money this year, they'll have to come back in. So we'll work on the forecast in November. You'll be able to see that.
I
So
like that trend, taking more revenue and.
yeah, that's the, to a point. We're not supposed to actually stockpile money. So I think that's all I have. Sort of short and sweet.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Golodai?
Yes.
Motion carried. Business services, legislative report.
Just very, very briefly, Governor DeWine had 29 bills sent to his desk for action and consideration, including HB 2. And this bill provides $600 million in school construction and renovation, which is administered by the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. And I did not go through all the other 28 bills. What else? So you can look it up on Facts in a Flash when you have a chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one item in this section for approval tonight, or actually two items. The first is a facility use request. Revived Church is going to be using the auditorium and gymnasium at the high school on Sundays, starting August 25th. As you know, we've done that in the past with New Life, and so they got their new facility, and so we're going to enter into that agreement with them. And then the second item, again, I mentioned at the forefront as an addition, but we're excited to enter into food service contract with Aramark from August 1st through the end of that calendar year. So those two items for you.
And I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Go ahead.
Dr. Bennett, call the roll, please.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Golodai?
Yes.
Motion carried. Student services.
The item for information is the same item we usually will share with you every time we have a determination of transportation and practicality. So it's really the documentation, but we do have a number of students that will be doing that. So you see that in resolution number 1 there. And then item 2 is the education healthcare staffing agreement. And that's for us at KCC for the 2024-25 year. Reach Educational Services and Educational Special Services contract with Tri-County. That's for our Medicaid program. So those 4 items for your approval tonight.
I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Golodai?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Motion carried. Moving on to personnel.
So item A are just items for information. They're salary change notices that were found throughout the process. So those are listed there. We do have a number of items for board approval tonight. First for the 24-25 year here. We have a couple resignations. It's always tough when you get some of these resignations because they've been valuable employees to us. But we have a number of resignations there, and we have another one just as of today, actually. We have a high school assistant principal who will be taking a resignation and will be taking on a position in Dublin. So sometimes that happens, and it's late in the year, but I never will stay in the way of somebody bettering themselves. So we'll be in the process. Corey's already kind of we're working on that right now to see what happens relative to that.
Okay.
Item B, we're rescinding a couple of contracts there that were put in. A lot of supplemental contracts in this July meeting. We held off on that special meeting for some of these, so we've kind of put these on top of here. So you're seeing everything from PBIS coordinators to 8th grade trip coordinators to safety patrol, ski club advisors. This is just kind of that big list of all the opportunities that, you know, we're really blessed to provide our students the chance to be a part of. So those lists are there. Our department heads are listed there at the high school and the middle school, some additional substitute teachers, some extracurricular contracts for non-teaching staff, and we have a few lay persons for pupil activity contracts for freshman football coaches or track and ski club at the middle school. So those large list of personnel items for your approval.
Is that all?
That's all.
I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second?
Call the roll, please.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Golodai?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes. Motion carried. Classified staff.
So no items for information tonight, but again, a number of items for approval. Some of these are the traditional kind of 2-year contracts to 3-year contracts for classified staff. You see those listed there. And we also have a couple retirements, a couple bus drivers, which, you know, we always hate to lose 2 bus drivers, but we do have a little bit of an aging or more mature group, we'll call them mature, of drivers, and they deserve the right to retire at some point. So certainly we'll have to be working on that. The
Bus
number of
drivers
retirements.
age quicker, don't they, than the rest of us?
They do. If you're behind the wheel like that,
I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Golodai?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Motion carried. Finally, board member comments. Mr. Ward?
Well, thank you all in attendance, and there's several things that are going through my mind. One is seeing the volume of the people and the positions and all the work that happens during the summertime to get ready for another school year. I thank the superintendent and those involved in that process. I'd also like to thank the folks involved in the food service effort. No small task there for those working here behind the scenes and making that work. So I'm really anxious to see how that goes this year. Welcome to Aramark in that regard. And I just hope everybody can still enjoy the last few weeks of summer. It seems to go faster each year for some strange reason. So everybody just continue to have a good summer and stay safe.
Thank you. Mr. Golodai?
Thank you. Thanks to those who attended this evening. Welcome to Aramark. We're really looking forward to a great partnership with you. Thank you to all the work for the cell phone policy. I know this was a challenging and difficult decision to make, but I think it's for the best for our children and for our staff. I'd like to congratulate one of our graduates who went to a state wrestling tournament and won the national
That's right.
wrestling. And I can't remember his name. Do you remember
Alex
anybody?
Taylor. Alex Taylor, who'll actually be a junior this year.
Oh, he's just a junior? Oh, I thought he graduated.
Oh, 2 years left.
Yeah.
Expecting more great things, right?
Well, congratulations to him and his family. What an accomplishment. And we're really looking forward to a great school year and a great partnership again with our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bennett?
Well, I think everything's been said, but again, I'd like to welcome everyone and just, I can't tell you how proud I am of our school district. We really have a great team here and all the things that we've done and the fact that we worked hard to get free lunches and breakfast for our kids, that's just awesome. I'm really pleased with that. I'm pleased that we have Aramark coming and have good hopes for an improvement in that respect, and that our kids will really respond and enjoy having their free breakfast and lunch. And again, I hope everyone's just having a wonderful vacation, is relaxed and refreshed when they come back, and that those who've retired are enjoying their retirement too. And good luck to all of our graduates in getting jobs and going to school.
Thank you.
Well, I will certainly echo what was said. Thank you for coming tonight. As you can see, a lot during the summer takes place. Mr. Cedar and his staff don't have summers off. So thank you. A lot of work there, and to Corey and Darren for the cell phone input. That's a tough one for sure. And so I like what I saw. I do think it's fair. But I know there's a lot of tough decisions with that. So also looking forward to working with you as well, Aramark. Looking forward to a partnership there. But also just enjoy the rest of the summer, the little that's left, I guess. So thank you.
I'd also like to say thanks again. I want to wish Jody Getzman. She wishes she could be here tonight. I talked to her. She had a knee repaired, and so she's coming along great. Just couldn't be here tonight, so we look forward to her speedy recovery and then joining us next month.
She said she'd be watching online if we were up. And
She texted me and said, "Is it streaming?" And I said,
Yeah.
and then she got your emails.
And that is a good point. We will be sharing this video through the website. Again, we're not live. We don't have streaming going on right now, no internet. But we'll make sure that we make this presentation available to our community, and we'll communicate appropriately.
Good, great. Any need for executive session?
No need tonight.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Thank you. Second. And call the roll, please.
Mrs. Rolladai?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Motion carried.